Howdy y'all, Big Country here again, and today I'm going to be covering the 7 things that hiring managers are looking for in a BDR SDR candidate. So thanks for joining. If y'all are new to my channel, my name's Big Country. I'm a tech sales recruiter. So this channel is dedicated to all things technology sales, all the way from entry level to senior level sales management for technology companies. The unique thing about my channel is that while there's already channels out there about SDR, BDR, account executive, career progression, some great ones to check out, Patrick Dang and Trent Dressel. The purpose of my channel is to go into things from a technology sales recruiter perspective. So what do things look like from the hiring manager side? So that's why I wanted to put this video together today, guys, is these are the 7 things that are most commonly graded on, not just for an SDR or BDR type position, but for salespeople in general. These are the things or the criteria that you'll basically be getting graded on. And there's plenty of different vertices and ways that this could be looked at, but I've boiled it down to 7 reasons for today, or 7 criteria rather. So criteria number one is intelligence. So there's 2 types of intelligence relevant here, guys. One is going to be IQ, 2 is going to be EQ. So IQ is basically pretty standard, and unfortunately it's not something that you can increase over the course of your life. But if your IQ is low, you might be able to get over that with really good EQ. So if we think about somebody that's really low IQ that's good at sales, I can't really think of one right off the bat, but low EQ, yeah, same deal. I can't really think of one. See, salespeople need to be able to understand how people think, and that's why the EQ component is so big. And when it comes to the IQ component, especially when we're talking about an SDR job for a tech company, a lot of these products that you'll be selling and representing a company for are freaking complicated. I mean, have you ever heard of Kubernetes before? So that's why reason number one, guys, is intelligence. Reason number two is attitude/coachability. So if there's a lot of ways that this can be graded or manifested on when an SDR, BDR candidate comes in for an interview. How I see it being graded poorly on a lot of the times is when people frame things either one with an external locus of control. So what that means is that when you tell your story and you talk about yourself, everything's negative and you paint things in a light that, oh, so-and-so did this to me, and then this went bad, and then this went bad, and my manager was an ass, and all of that kind of thing. Those show 2 things. One, that your attitude is poor, and you're not going to be coachable, because if you paint your story arc as being, oh, woe is me, everything's gone bad in my life, it's going to basically, what the hiring manager is going to be thinking is that, well, you're going to carry that into here, and in 3 months you'll be saying the same thing to another hiring manager with me as the tail end of your story when you tell that. So criteria number 2, attitude/coachability. Criteria number 3 is curiosity. So there's a lot of things that curiosity shows, and it's a critical component of being a good salesperson, even a recruiter. But when it comes to curiosity, guys, if you come into an interview and you're not asking a whole lot of questions, or if I say something and I get a gaze to me, the hiring manager, that looks like, I have to assume that you're not interested. And nobody wants to talk to somebody who's not interested. Imagine being on a date and the person who is sitting across the table from you gives you no feedback, doesn't ask any questions about stuff that you say. We're wired to assume that they're not interested, and so therefore that works reciprocally. Then we're not going to be interested in them. So criteria number three is curiosity. Criteria number 4 is a big one. It's professionalism. Now, that being said, I have seen plenty of people go through interview processes and be overly professional. I've even gotten interview feedback from a candidate who was rejected for a job and didn't receive an offer simply because he was too professional and he did everything too perfectly. So this is the double-sided coin. Okay, so when it comes to professionalism, basically what a hiring manager needs to be convinced during an interview is, one, that you can face a client and that you can represent the company well to them. And two, at the same time, on the opposite end of things, is that you can also be personable and relate to somebody. So maybe that looks like only swearing or cursing after a hiring manager does. And it also might just mean using words or jargon that are appropriate for the context. To tell you a little story, I had a candidate who got rejected the other day for a job. And I don't know why he did this, but he was at a final panel interview for a job that he was really excited about. He came in there talking about, I just got off of a week-long bender in Vegas, and I was pounding natties with the boys, and I've just been chonging it out and playing COD all day. And the feedback was, I couldn't imagine putting this person in front of somebody and representing my company, and I can't blame him. So reason number 4, professionalism. Reason number 5, criteria number 5 is interest. And this relates a lot to curiosity. So what this means when you're preparing for an interview is that you should be doing research, not just to show that you know stuff about a company or about your interviewer, but also that you're interested. So I can memorize the periodic table of elements, but that doesn't mean that I'm interested in chemistry. So what I always tell my candidates is that when you're interviewing for a role, have questions prepared, not like some general, what does the day-to-day look like of this role, but have questions that you generate after research that show genuine interest in the company, and then also your interviewers as well. And that's something that I'll cover more in a later video, but for today's purposes, criteria number 6 is going to be interest. And another thing that I want to talk about with interest is that I look at a candidate for a job as having 2 vertices that they may or may not be a good fit for the role. And the 2 vertices are experience and interest. So if you're light on experience, you have to be heavy on interest. All right, reason number 6. Reason number 6 is not nothing to be played around with. Reason number 6 is phone voice. So this might come off as a touchy thing to some folks because not everybody sounds good on the phone. Not everybody sounds good when they're talking. I know for me, for example, I had wanted to be a voice actor long before I had gotten into tech sales. And when I finally had a recruiter tell me, you got a good phone voice, it was the biggest compliment to me of all time. And I don't even think it's great, but man, do I love to hear myself talk. Anyway, reason number 6, and the reason why a phone voice is so important is because if you sound like you have a cold and you cold call somebody, that call is now double cold. You're basically in a freezer call position. So if I get a phone call from somebody, and phone voice is more than just the natural timbre of your voice, maybe that's something I'll talk about later, but your phone voice also relates to intelligence and empathy. If I can at least come off like I'm being empathetic or like I understand your situation, and I can present through my voice that maybe I'm friendly or I'm somebody who you would want to talk to, having a good phone voice, you could almost look at it as another layer of intelligence where you have to learn how to use your voice as an instrument for success and as a tool to extract money out of the economy. All right, so that wraps up number 6, reason number 6, phone voice. Reason number 7. All right, guys, so to wrap it up, reason number 7 is probably my favorite and the one that I think is most important, just generally speaking. Reason number 7 is storytelling ability. We as humans run on stories. Before there was ever writing, before there was ever cuneiform or hieroglyphics, everything that a culture would identify itself by was through stories, word of mouth. Stories would be passed on from generation to generation, and this is how a how a set of people would understand themselves is by, what did my grandfather do? What did my grandma do? What did my ancestors do? That's why when we are so much more likely to remember a story as opposed to a set of facts. So going back on the periodical table of elements, I might be able to memorize that, but what use is that going to do me if I don't know what the whole progression or the point of it coming to fruition might have been? And that's probably a horrible example, but I'll tell you one thing. I was preparing a candidate the other day for an account executive role, and I was trying to get it out of him. So how are you going to tell your story to the hiring manager? And he said, well, I was working at place A, and then I went to place B, and then I went to place C. And then I said, you just read me your resume. That doesn't do anything. So I'll talk about resumes in another video, guys, but telling a story, talking about the 5 or 6 senses. How was I feeling when I was at this point in my life? When I sold this thing, how big was the deal? How excited was it? And how am I communicating that with my voice? How am I keeping the interviewer or the hiring manager on the edge of their seat, waiting to hear what happens next? Storytelling ability is so big when it comes to sales, and it's probably one of the funnest things to do out there. So if you like telling stories, maybe consider sales. Do what you want. But anyway, guys, that wraps it up for today's video, and it's been a pleasure having you. If you haven't already, make sure you leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, bang the notification bell, and I will see you next time. This has been Big Country with the 7 criteria that hiring managers grade you on.